You've heard of unsolved true crime mysteries, but what about unsolved roller coaster mysteries? Yes, the theme park world has its own share of enigmas. We've got coasters that vanished, projects that collapse, and attractions shrouded in questions that I still don't have the answers for. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of these mysteries and uncovering the stories that keep coaster fans guessing. Number 10. The vertical velocity height situation at California Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. First opening in 2001, this was a standard impulse coaster model by Swiss manufacturer Intamin. With a towering height of 186 feet, it stood as the tallest roller coaster in the park. Both ends of the track were originally completely vertical. However, there was a pretty big problem. The city's height limit for structures is said to be 150 feet, or 160 according to some sources. Interestingly enough, Six Flags initially marketed the ride as being only 150 feet tall, which would have satisfied the building restrictions. So why did Six Flags blatantly violate the height limit? One popular theory is that Six Flags hoped officials wouldn't notice but were caught red-handed. According to UltimateRollerCoaster.com, sources say local residents were upset since the ride violated zoning laws prohibiting any structures at the park from exceeding 160 feet. Adding more intrigue, a commenter on a previous video suggested a slightly different story. According to them, Vallejo officials were initially aware of the ride's height, and they simply allowed it by allowing a technicality that measured the ride from the park's highest point instead of from the ride's base. But then, a very vocal resident unearthed records proving that even the adjusted measurement exceeded the building restriction. Was this simply a case of miscommunication, or was the park truly trying to pull a fast one? Either way, the ride was modified next season to fit within the height maximum. Engineers did this by trimming the spikes and making one of them stick out at a 45-degree angle. Allegedly, the park had to make the modification to either meet the height limit or face the possibility of the ride being shut down for good. However, the park has never officially confirmed the events that led up to this, leading coaster enthusiasts to speculate for years. To this day, the real reason behind Flash Vertical Velocity's height controversy remains a mystery. On that note, much like how the modification protected the park from violating height restrictions and enhanced the layout, you can protect your online activity and enhance your digital experience with this video's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access is a VPN, or Virtual Private Network. If you're not familiar, a VPN is a tool that hides your IP address and encrypts your internet connection. This shields your online activity from hackers, ISPs, network administrators, and government censors. It's like having a comfortable but functional ride restraint system for your data no matter where you are. I use a VPN every day, and one of my favorite things about it is unlocking a larger Netflix library. For example, neither the Sonic the Hedgehog movie nor the Super Mario Bros. Movie are available on Netflix in the US, but with private internet access, all I have to do is switch over to an Israeli server and there they are. And it works with all major streaming services, so you can access more content than ever. I also improved my gaming experience by lowering ping times and boosting connection speeds, which is a big plus for playing Planet Coaster. And it gets even better. With just one subscription, you can protect an unlimited number of devices. Desktops, tablets, mobile devices, you name it. Private Internet Access has you covered. Plus, signing up is completely risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee and 24/7 customer support to help with anything you need. With over 30 million downloads and over 8,000 excellent rated reviews on Trustpilot, Private Internet Access is a must-have for your online experience. By clicking my link in the description, you can get 83% off on Private Internet Access. That's just $2.03 a month, and you also get 4 extra months completely for free. So feel free to head to the description and click my special link to start your Private Internet Access journey today. Number 9. The Missing Apple at England's Blackpool Pleasure Beach. When Blackpool Pleasure Beach introduced the Big Apple coaster in 2003, it was a straightforward wacky worm ride. These coasters are kid-friendly rides that feature a playful, mild design. On some wacky worms, riders pass through a giant apple as part of the experience. However, did you know that there's a famous case of one of these apples going missing? Before its arrival at Blackpool, the coaster operated at Frontierland Family Theme Park, complete with its signature giant apple. But something bizarre happened during its relocation to the West Coast. When the ride was unpacked at Blackpool, the massive 30-foot apple was nowhere to be found. That's right, a giant centerpiece apple had somehow vanished into thin air.
How on earth do you lose a 30-foot apple?
Blackpool's director of operations at the time expressed his bewilderment, stating, "I'm a fairly appleable guy, but I'm not impressed that we've managed to lose a 30-foot apple. This is a big feature of the ride and the kids are missing out on a fun part of the attraction." Despite the missing apple, the park decided to open the ride to the public anyway under the name Big Apple. Yes, Big Apple, but with no apple. It stood inside the perimeter of the Avalanche bobsled coaster, operating for just 1 year before being sold to showman Paul Hart in 2004. Its short-lived run at Blackpool has left coaster fans scratching their heads ever since, and nobody has been able to find that apple. Maybe it was stolen, or maybe it was lost during transport, or maybe there was a miscommunication and Frontierland simply destroyed the apple instead of relocating it with the rest of the ride. Either way, if you're in England, keep your eyes peeled because it might still be out there. Number 8. The cancelled Star Wars coaster at Russia's Wonder Island. In the city of St. Petersburg, Wonder Island is known as one of the largest theme parks in Russia. Over the years, the park has hosted a variety of notable roller coasters, but one of its most intriguing mysteries was a ride that never came to be, a roller coaster called Star Wars. Set to debut in 2005, this coaster was designed by German manufacturer Mara Rides. It would feature spinning cars and an enclosed layout similar to the famous traveling coaster Hollenblitz. Construction began around 2003, with this rare photo showing the coaster's construction inside of a massive steel structure. But despite being teased and advertised by the park, the ride never opened. Later on in 2007, the space intended for the Star Wars coaster was instead used for a completely different attraction, a shooting dark ride named Star Patrol. Here, riders board circular vehicles and take aim at targets with laser guns. As far as we know, the roller coaster project was abandoned, but the reason why remains a mystery. It's possible that the structure proved unsuitable for the coaster's layout, though the project could have gone over budget as well. But whatever the reason, the Star Wars coaster was quietly scrapped, leaving us only photos and unanswered questions. Number 7. Kersplash at Massachusetts Edaville. In 1995, the Washington State Fair opened an innovative hybrid attraction called Kersplash. This dual-tracked water coaster combined elements of a traditional roller coaster with those of a log flume. Riders began on steel track with a drop and a curved incline before plunging into a flume section that ended with a splashdown. For nearly 2 decades, Kersplash entertained fairgoers, operating until 2012. The next year, the ride found a new home at the historic Edaville Family Theme Park in Carver, Massachusetts, near Cape Cod. Situated next to the park's iconic train ride, Kersplash seemed poised to become a unique attraction for visitors. However, as the years went on, it remained unopened, though it seemed to be fully constructed on the property. But the ride never did get to open, and sat standing but not operating until its removal in 2023. Just before the ride's removal, Edaville got new owners. They wanted to move away from the theme park vibe of Edaville and emphasize the historic railroad instead. As part of this transition, the Dinoland section was closed and the IP-based Thomastown was reimagined as Alpine Village. The large Thomas front car was removed and Kersplash was taken out as well, likely for aesthetic reasons. But even before Edaville's reimagining, why didn't they open Kersplash? Why did they even acquire it in the first place? Some have speculated that the ride was missing critical parts and getting them would have required far too much money. Overall though, the answer remains unclear. Fortunately though, Edaville continues to give its classic train ride through the nearby cranberry bogs. If you're a big train enthusiast, it's definitely worth a visit, and there are still some rides there too. Number 6. The cancelled RMC coaster at Pennsylvania's Kennywood. One of the most divisive operating coasters is the Pittsburgh Steelers-themed Steel Curtain. Though it has received praise for its innovation and inversion-packed layout, others have criticized its on-again, off-again operations, with it recently being closed for the entire 2024 season. Some wish that the park chose to build something else, and according to early plans, that was almost supposedly the case. In early 2016, Screamscape began to report on the development of a new coaster. That October, it was reported that plans for a new coaster were shown off at a local council meeting. These plans showed a terrain-based layout on the hill that ran into recently acquired land behind the Racer and Jackrabbit coasters. The exact details of the layout are unknown, and nobody even knows who exactly was going to manufacture it. But also in 2016, RMC employees were reportedly spotted at the park carrying binders. However, it seems that this project didn't really go anywhere. In December 2017, Screamscape reported that RMC was no longer in the running to be the builder of the park's new coaster. Weeks later, construction would begin for Steel Curtain, with an eventual opening in 2019. The most common theory is that soil studies showed that the hillside wasn't stable enough for the proposed RMC. Others, though, say it was simply down to zoning laws. Even still, there was no official word on what happened to the coaster, fitting the bill as an unsolved mystery to remember. Number 5. Vipere at Canada's La Ronde. When Green Lantern First Flight opened at Six Flags Magic Mountain in 2011, it was supposed to be an innovative addition. As an Intamin Zaxspin model, it promised a thrilling 4D coaster with free-spinning cars. Unfortunately, instead of a nice little ride similar to X2, what riders got was far less enjoyable and a whole hell of a lot more painful. Shortly after the ride's debut, Six Flags reportedly grew concerned about passengers getting stuck upside down or awkwardly facing the sky for prolonged periods. Allegedly, there was an issue with the vehicles returning to the station upside down and being stuck in awkward positions. Supposedly, guidelines required Six Flags to send maintenance workers to the ride to move the vehicles right side up. This was a time-consuming process. This is said to be in contrast to other Zaxspins in Europe, where the ride operators can turn the vehicles right side up without calling maintenance. To reduce the amount of flipping, the vehicles were modified with extra metal, making them heavier and clunkier. Without the full rotation, the discomfort only got worse, and riders endured jarring impacts with the over-the-shoulder restraints and the back of their seats. Worse, the awkward positioning during drops could be a real kick in the tangerines, making the ride feel more like a jackass stunt than something meant for the general public. By the late 2010s, Green Lantern First Flight was one of the most hated coasters ever. Bafflingly enough though, Six Flags officials announced plans to relocate the coaster to La Ronde for the 2020 season. There were even plans to retrack and improve it overall. Soon enough, track and supports had arrived in Quebec, ready to be constructed. But the COVID-19 pandemic delayed the ride's opening. For unknown reasons, this delay became a cancellation, and La Ronde decided to scrap the project altogether. What happened next remains a mystery. The coaster was removed from storage, but its current whereabouts are unknown. Maybe Six Flags just found the ride to be irreparable after years of modifications. Or maybe they thought, hey, this ride is going to be unpopular, so let's just not open it. Either way, Green Lantern First Flight has vanished from the theme park world, leaving behind a legacy of discomfort, disappointment, and unanswered questions. Number 4. The mystery manufacturer Yamasakutalab. A few weeks ago, I released a video about the worst reviewed coasters in the world. One of them was Euromir, a Polish launch coaster. Recently, this ride moved into the number 1 spot as Captain Coaster's lowest rated non-kiddie coaster. According to comments, the ride is extremely rough and painful. The big mystery with the ride, other than why it was built, is who exactly built it. The only tangible clue we have is, believe it or not, written on the ride vehicles. Just above the wheels is the word Yamasakutalab. This word has no direct translation, although Google Translate seems to think it's of Uzbek origin. According to RCDB, it's unknown if this is even the name of the manufacturer. All we do know is that this word is written on the trains of several coasters, and that's it. In total, Yamasakutalab has built 18 roller coasters, with 10 in operation. Of the 18 built, here's a breakdown by country: 1 in Armenia, 3 in Poland, 4 in Ukraine, 4 in Uzbekistan, and 5 in Russia. Considering they built 4 in Uzbekistan, maybe Google Translate has the right idea. So if anyone watching this is from Uzbekistan, feel free to comment whatever you can. Number 3. The mystery Jinma coaster cancellation at Missouri's Oasis at Lakeport. In recent years, Chinese manufacturer Jinma Rides has been making an effort to appeal to the Western market. Recently, they created a new Swiss subsidiary named Noble Rides just to do that. At IAAPA 2022, Noble Rides showcased the front car for a new LSM launch coaster by Jinma. This ride was slated to debut at the upcoming Oasis at Lakeport amusement park in Missouri, and the logo was even seen on the train. The ride itself was said to be the same catapult coaster model as Rush Out of Yulin's Stronghold at Sanya Silk Road Happy World in China. The Missouri project generated substantial curiosity among coaster enthusiasts, as it would have been the first major Chinese-built coaster to open in the US. However, despite the initial excitement, plans took a surprising turn. Recently, Oasis at Lakeport revealed a major shift in its lineup. Instead of the Jinma Rides coaster, the park announced the purchase of 2 coasters from renowned Dutch manufacturer Vekoma. Additionally, the park's overall concept underwent significant changes. While Jinma Rides confirmed they are still providing the observation wheel, they declined to comment on the fate of the launch coaster. So why were the plans of this coaster scrapped? Was it a matter of budget, or maybe a preference for the established reputation of Vekoma? Or maybe something else behind the scenes influenced the park's decision, like shipping? The exact reason remains unclear. Oasis at Lakeport is set to open this year, but coaster enthusiasts can only wonder what could have been if Jinma Rides had been given their chance on US soil. Number 2. Gulf War coaster theft at Kuwait Entertainment City. Though no longer in operation, Kuwait Entertainment City was a thriving theme park in the Middle East. Dubbed by the Los Angeles Times as Islam's answer to Disneyland, the park opened in 1984 near Kuwait City. Operated by the Touristic Enterprises Company, it offered a good mix of attractions. Many coaster fans will recognize it as the home of Lightning, a Bolliger and Mabilliard inverted coaster and one of many clones of Batman the Ride. Upon its opening, it also featured an unnamed children's roller coaster by Intamin. This was a clone of Wilderness Run at Cedar Point, and there is actually some footage online, so I will link it down below. In 1990, however, the park's story took a dramatic turn. That year, Iraqi forces invaded Kuwait, signaling the start of the Gulf War. During the invasion, troops looted and vandalized the park, smashing windows, overturning bumper cars, and prying open arcade coin boxes. According to the Edmonton Journal, an entire carousel and the small coaster were dismantled and transported to Baghdad. After the war ended, Kuwait Entertainment City reopened in 1994 without that smaller children's coaster. Nobody knows where exactly the stolen roller coaster was taken. A good theory is that it was scavenged for parts and left to decay, but there's no trace of the ride ever having been found. Kuwait Entertainment City eventually closed in 2016, but the story of this pillaged coaster really deserves more recognition. Number 1. Montezooma, the Forbidden Fortress at California's Knott's Berry Farm. Ever since its debut in 1978, Montezooma's Revenge has been known as a beloved classic at Knott's Berry Farm. Named after a local bluegrass band, its compact layout featured a launch into a loop, followed by a spike, and a reversal through the same loop. Like fine Italian cuisine, its simple ingredients provided a memorable and flat-out fun experience. However, the ride's current state is anything but fun, and it's one of the most frustrating and flat-out baffling coaster sagas in recent memory. In 2022, Knott's Berry Farm announced plans to refurbish the aging attraction, renaming it Montezooma the Forbidden Fortress. The project promised to update the ride with new trains, special effects, and a modern launch system. Though some ride fans were hesitant about the changes, many were optimistic for a refreshing take on a classic ride. Soon afterwards, though, reports began to surface that construction had come to a halt. By late 2023, the ride sat untouched, with its historic loop removed. Rumors about what went wrong immediately began to swarm around like angry hornets. There were several allegations made. Among them were contractors damaging the ride's foundation, mistakenly dismantling the loop with a torch, and tearing out track segments without proper authorization. It was also speculated that Kumbach, the Dutch manufacturer reportedly hired for the refurbishment, was at the center of the controversy. Known for their history of problematic projects, Kumbach allegedly offered Knott's an enticingly low price, but some have said that the resulting work may have caused more harm than it was worth. Adding to the confusion, Cedar Fair's year-end SEC filing mentioned a loss incurred from a terminated project at Knott's Berry Farm. This led many to believe that the coaster was permanently cancelled and Montezooma's was set for the scrapyard. But in early 2024, the park unexpectedly announced that renovations were still underway, with an opening projected for 2025. Construction had resumed briefly in March of 2024, but by December, progress has stagnated once again. Missing track sections and a lack of visible updates left fans wondering if the coaster's revival was truly dead in the dirt. Knott's continues to remain silent on this matter, likely out of embarrassment, and this has fueled speculation about what's going to happen next. So whodunit? The contractors, unforeseen structural issues, or a case of mismanagement and miscommunication? Whatever the case, the fate of Montezooma's revenge is up in the air, and it's a true head-scratcher for the ages. Now it's time for the comment shoutout program. This is where I take 5 random comments from my previous video and read them out. These comments come from my video on 2025 roller coasters. Fang4590 says, "It's crazy how many years we've been waiting for Palindrome and it's actually set to happen this time." Tragic Shenanigans 4864 says, "Arizona native here. Just funny to hear how Bone Shaker is breaking so many Arizona coaster records as if there was somehow any real competition before Mattel Adventure Park." Dogs Are Cute said, "I actually teared up when I heard that Raptera was going to have a dive loop instead of an Immelman." Jonathan Zisk says, "I've been watching your channel for a while and I'm finally subscribed. Can't wait for these new roller coasters to open." Thank you, Jonathan. And Rubik's Cuber MT1612 says, "I created a 666 foot tall RMC single rail T-Rex model on the new coaster game like for a video featuring it. It is not as long as Falcon's Flight though. If you want to see your words in my next video, leave a comment down below and it may be selected. Please note though that inflammatory or spam comments will not be read." Thank you all so much, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so once again at the link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. And I'm on TikTok. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.